Right. I'm George Henry,
This is Larry Richardson.
and we have decided that we have something to say. So we're going to get involved in the podcasting here, and you've seen a couple of our, preliminary videos that we've done, and I would kind of still consider this a preliminary video. I mean, for the most part. And we're trying to look at some subject matter that we want to get into. And one of the things that we want to do is we want to focus on some local people here. We do have some folks in our town here that have some very significant stories to tell. I would say not information, but stories to tell. And we're going to get into that. And I can't go into too much detail, but there is a gentleman who's very heavily into the entertainment business, in the movie business, that we're going to try to get on. So we'll share that with you as time goes by. Mm-hmm. So we were talking about one of the different things that Larry and I both like is movies and entertainment, obviously. And one of the things that we've been noticing, we watch a lot of reels. I don't know. Do you watch many like full-length podcasts? I mainly watch
The reels,
snippets,
highlights.
The highlights and stuff like that. And when you see the idea of entertainers getting involved in the politics of what's going on, and I thought about this the other day. It's like, well, you have one set of people that say entertainers have no business having an opinion in politics, and yet from the other side of it, entertainers are influencers, just like podcasters are influencers, and they have a vote and they have an opinion. And what is your take on it? Do you think that they have a right to?
I think they have a right. I think everybody has a right to say their piece. I think, and everybody generally has a side. I think as far as careers go, I'm going to throw a name out there, Rachel Zegler, for example. You're going to make a movie and you're out promoting the movie. I think if you're on that payroll for that company, Disney pays you to go out and promote the movie. I can't really say that politics shouldn't be a part of it, but you have to be careful. Like, you're under contract, and this is basically solely on what happened with her and what the Snow White movie and how all that started. I mean, they panned that movie before it even came out because it seemed that instead of taking a stand, she really got into an 80-20 argument, and it seems like she was on the 20% side of it, of the battle. And that hurt the movie. It hurt her career. It hurt a lot of things. However, that being said, she has a right to speak, but I think there is a time and place, and I think that the entertainment side of it should not be the platform you use to speak your mind, if you're out promoting a movie, that's your job. That's your
job. At that
job.
point, you've been paid by this movie company. You're a paid actor or actress. I know they call them all actors now. I'm
yes.
Still getting used to that. But that's not your time.
No.
When you've made it, when you're famous, and you're not in the middle of promoting a movie that some company paid for, like Disney or DreamWorks or any one of those that do that. It's not your time. I think that's my personal opinion. Not that they shouldn't have opinions, but they have to do it when they're not being paid to do something else.
Correct. I mean, and that's basically to save their career. That's not to say that they're not on the right side of the debate or the argument. It doesn't mean that they're on the wrong side. It just means that if you're an entertainer, that's what you're there to do. If you want to do a TED Talk and take that time to go into politics, and it's separate from your concert or your movie promotion junkets or something like that, then I think that would be the place you would go to do it. I think a lot of these actors and or celebrities, I'm not going to try to put them in buckets. But I think a lot of these celebrities take that time because I think that's the time that they feel that everybody's watching. And I don't think it's something that a lot of people who are, the families who wants to go take their kids to go see the movies or take their family to go see a concert, that may not be what they want to hear at that point in time. They want to hear about what you're going to sing, what new songs you're bringing out, how this movie is going to turn out, or, how's your comedy tour going and things like that.
Now, what's oddly different about that, though, is you mentioned comedy tour. Now, comedians that take shots at one side or the other will get the audience they want to come to their shows. So they're not as concerned. I don't feel they are. I mean, like the Gary Owens, the Chris Rocks, the people that have a political opinion. Even Dave Chappelle. I mean, you think about it. They're going to say what they're going to say, regardless of what they think people think about it, because people are going to come see them because that's what they want.
That's what they want
to hear. But in a movie, you're being somebody else.
Right.
You're being a character. You're being somebody that is different from who you are. So, that would be like, Sean Penn acting in a movie where he was, a right-wing conservative.
Right.
He may not want to do a movie like that.
Right.
But in the comedy circles, you can get out there and say what you want. It's a little bit different.
And a good comedian on either side of the spectrum, they get heckled. It's just great fodder for them. It's great material for them.
Oh, yeah.
So you'll have, like I introduced you to the Aries Spears or Rob Schneider did one, but I think his was actually planned, to be honest with you. But, he had a guy that threw a line out there, and his response just seemed like it was too deadpan written for, sounded like it was a plant. But,
almost like it was a Saturday Night Live skit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But Aris, I was watching one the other day where he had this. He seemed like I don't want to put any labels on something, but he seemed like he had a white racist in his front row. Mm-hmm. And the guy yells out, "You just don't know where you are." Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Yeah, I know exactly where I'm at. Maybe you're the one who doesn't know where you are." And they had this back and forth, and he was like really giving it to him, and that. The crowd work there is great, but there's a lot of comedians who don't do crowd work.
No,
so when they get heckled, it's a little bit different, for them.
Yeah, and Aries Spears is who we're talking about. He's an African American comedian, and I think most of his work is crowd work. Mm-hmm. We saw him once years ago in Sacramento, and. Yeah, that guy, he hit all of us on the front row. He does not hold back. So he's one of those guys that, if you're opposing whatever his political view is during one of his shows, he will have a response.
Yeah.
And I think that will pull people in because he doesn't have any limits.
Well, Deb and I learned, we went on a cruise a couple of years ago, and we went to a comedy show, and we got picked out. And it was really funny. And I'm not offended at all by being picked out because, if they're intentionally hateful towards you, that's different. But I don't think that's most comedians' intent is never to be intentionally hateful. They want to laugh.
Yep.
They want to laugh. So even if they pick on you in a way that might feel uncomfortable, because you're a white guy and a black comedian, or a white comedian and a black guy. It's like, you've just got to, you're there at the show, man. You got to take it in.
You got to take it in.
You
get in the front row. You've paid to get what's coming to you.
You paid to get heckled.
You paid to get heckled.
And then, but dude, you got someone like, I don't know, are you familiar with Jimmy Carr?
Yes. Well, yeah.
He is brutal.
He is very brutal.
He is brutal. But I can't stop watching him.
Yeah.
He like, I don't know.
Good comedians don't play it safe.
Yeah.
And that's my opinion. Good comedians do not play it safe. And if you're offended by anything a comedian will say, then you're not into comedians. Just my
well, and then I was watching one where some lady goes, "I'm sorry, I'm going to go," and he goes, "Not your cup of tea, no." And she's like, Well, you paid a ticket, to be here. Did you not look me up on YouTube before you came to a show? It's like, so even that, when it gets down to the politics of it, I mean, you've got to know the environment you're putting yourself in when you go to a show like that.
Yep.
But again, it goes back to, what you were talking about, the Snow White actress, that, there's a time and place when, if you're a celebrity, I'm gonna caveat this with a non-comedian celebrity.
Yeah.
You're getting paid to do a job.
Yep.
I mean, that'd be like Aaron Judge going up at the plate and then never swinging at the ball.
Right.
Because he's got an agenda. It just doesn't go.
And like I said, a lot of stuff they have is very welcome commentary. It's very welcome views on where they stand. Pedro Pascal is the latest. People were having Pedro Pascal fatigue, where he's in you turn around and he's in everything. Mm-hmm. And, and I love him for that, because he's good in just about everything he's in, aside from Wonder Woman 84. No, I'm kidding. But I shouldn't have said that. He's good in everything he is. I think he's a great actor. I think he's a great person. And I was kind of pleased to see him cast as one of my favorites, is Fantastic Four, Reed Richards. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, well, he can pull this off. The guy pulls off everything.
Yeah. But then you have, I'm sorry, you were in the middle of a thought.
Oh, no, go ahead. Interrupt. Okay.
But then you have, and I won't mention the actor's name because I really love this actor and I really love the work he does. But when you see him in a movie, you see him in every movie.
Mm.
It's like when I watch Tom Hanks in a movie, I can forget it's Tom Hanks.
Yes.
Because of the way he acts.
They lose themselves into the character.
And there's a lot of actors like Denzel Washington's like that. There's Leonardo DiCaprio's like that.
Yes.
But then there's a couple that when you see them, it's like, I've seen this movie before.
Yes.
Even though it's a totally different movie.
Totally different movie.
And even though I love the actor, and again, I'm not going to say who it is because if he ever does watch this, I don't want him to be offended at it. I'll tell you after we turn the cameras on.
Right.
But yeah, and so it's like, you don't want to see him in everything because you're just like, oh, I've seen this.
I've seen him everything. Yeah, they have very little range. Yeah. They always play the same character, kind of, bit roles or even major roles. I don't know who you're talking to.
You think I know? You think you know what I'm talking about?
I think so. I think so.
I bet. No, I was gonna give it away there. I wouldn't do that.
Well, clearly we watch a lot of movies and TV shows, and George and I have a lot of the same taste too when it comes to like, entertainment. They're great escapisms from everything. And if you can have a compelling story with good character building, good pacing, good plot, good ending,
good dog barking,
good dog barking, we're in, and we do. We share a lot of similarities when it comes to entertainment. So,
but I have to admit, as many movies as I have in my collection, I've got three stacked cases of DVDs, and then I've got a hard drive there that's got another tons more. You've seen more movies than I have.
I've probably seen more movies than the average human being. Is probably twice my age. Unfortunately, it's not something I really want to brag about. But
no, people go to me like, well, what kind of music you listen to? I listen to all kinds of music. Well, don't you have a favorite? I said, well, I program a radio station. I have to be open to all kinds of music.
Yep.
I'm in media and entertainment. I have to be open to all kinds of media and entertainment. I can't shut myself off to one genre or one type of movie. Like, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm not really a zombie movie fan. Mm-hmm. But I really want to see 28 years later.
Oh yes,
because I saw 28 Days Later, mm-hmm. and that was probably the best zombie movie that I've ever seen.
Yes,
and not that World War Z wasn't that good, but that wasn't my favorite Brad Pitt movie. But anyway,
28 days, 28 weeks, 28 years. The trilogy. But I think this is the second Danny Boyle one. The first one was Danny Boyle, and somebody else did the second one, which I thought was actually pretty decent. But I can't wait.
I did not see the second one.
Second one was pretty decent.
I may have seen it. I take that back because I started watching a movie today, Thelma. I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh,
it's about the old lady who gets scammed.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there watching. I'm going like, oh, I've seen this already. I get almost all the way to the end. I'm like, oh, I've seen this already.
Oh.
It's like, yeah.
That was a sleeper hit. I love that movie.
Yeah,
I thought it was a great movie with Roddy McDowell, not Roddy McDowell, Malcolm McDowell at the end, just playing a complete sleazeball character. And he hammed it up a little bit, but I thought it was actually really, really good. If you guys haven't seen that, if you want to see a movie it's a sweet old movie, it's got a lot of heart, and it's got a lot of present day like concerns and subject matter.
Right? Definitely. You got an older adult that's maybe shouldn't be living alone. Falling to the things that we have that in our family right now. That some elders that are getting scammed on an almost regular basis, or at least attempted to be scammed.
Yes,
people take advantage of that, and we kind of got away from our original topic of conversation. But that's okay. It's okay that
it's all good topic.
It's okay that it evolves the way it does. In fact, I like the fact that it evolves and that you can move on to other things, and people are like, where are they going with this?
Yes, but I think we kind of made our point too with the if you're going to be a celebrity and you have millions of people that sometimes are at your they would drink your bath water, which. There's people who are actually paying for that right now. Look it up. You think I'm kidding. There's people who are actually buying it.
Buying their bath water?
Buying their bath water. Yeah, they're making soap out of their bath water. Yeah. You guys can look it up, and I won't run it.
I believe you.
But
I don't want to believe you, but I do.
No, it's a big thing. I mean, what was it? Gwyneth Paltrow had her
well, I might buy her bath water.
Yeah. You have to. I think leave the entertainment part, and it seems more genuine to me if someone who is trying to promote something or trying to say something does it on a different platform, aside from where their fans will follow, and that to me kind of gives a little bit more, makes it a little more genuine.
Right. Yeah, and I'm not against someone having social consciousness.
Right. That's great.
I'm all for that. But I don't want them doing it when I'm trying to watch a movie.
Right. It's almost it's a captive audience.
Yeah.
Like, where are they going to go? I want to go in. I'm watching this whole press junket on Fantastic Four because, again, I grew up watching. Well, not watching the first movie. I actually seen the Roger Corman version of the movie. I still have it actually, which is a very rare.
I remember the cartoon version.
I love the cartoon. I watched the cartoons. I didn't really read the comic books, Fantastic Four, but I was always a fan. Mm-hmm. So the C.
You're a fan and you never read the comic books?
I never read the comic books. No, I was. You know who I was? Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange has always been. Yeah, he's always been my favorite comic book. As far as reading goes, Spider-Man. Very few Daredevils.
I was Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four. That was pretty much
yours.
My go-to. Green Lantern too, I think. Yeah.
And you would think, as big of a fan of I am as Batman, and you'd see Batman everything, Batman trivia books and everything. I was not a big Batman comic book reader.
Really? I
was not a big reader. I didn't get into Batman, honestly, until maybe 87, 86. And then the Batman 89 came out. Well, I did watch the show. I did love the show. Mm-hmm. But
you mean the Adam West?
The Adam West show.
Oh, yeah.
And then I went back and started watching the old 1940s Batman shows. Where
he was a 1940s?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I kind of remember that.
Black and white.
That. Yeah.
He was a detective. I think he even had a gun. It was kind of weird because the Batman in the comic book lore, he does not use a gun. Yeah. So I've watched that when I used to watch Buster Crabbe and Buck Rogers and all that stuff. Flash Gordon. I used to watch all that. Rocket Man and...
see, I was more into like the Tarzan aspect of it,
like
Tarzan movies, Johnny Weissmuller and stuff like that. So, but I like that too. Yeah, that was.
But he's basically doing the same thing with Fantastic Four, where basically the movie hasn't even come out yet. It doesn't come out the next month, and they're already giving it like a 0 rating, and that's kind of the stuff you pull in. when you're
because he's been in too many things, or because of his politics.
probably because of both. So they're attacking one, they're attacking his politics, but then now the fatigue is set in. The fatigue wasn't there when he first got announced, right, as being Reed Richards. But it wasn't until the politics come in. Now the fatigue is an issue, and now the politics is an issue. So he's compounding the two concerns into one, and people are ready to boycott the movie.
Now, I have to be honest with you. I have not been up on Pedro Pascal's politics. So what is he saying that's making people?
One, he's backing Rachel Ziegler,
Yeah.
which that's
supporting her like,
stance and everything
stand behind her. Yeah.
and the other one is the DEI. Apparently, there's the script got leaked, which always happens. Every movie script gets leaked, especially if it's an important movie.
Except Star Wars.
Except Star Wars.
Nobody saw that one.
No.
Yeah.
And apparently the ending is, a lot of the testosterone-driven moviegoers are not liking the way this movie is set out to end. Yeah. And he's speaking against that. And I think that they're like today they're still reshooting this movie, and it comes out next month.
Wow. They're
doing reshoots, and they're trying to do damage control. But again, I think that had the script not got leaked, had he had not, that you can't stop the script being leaked. That's always going to happen. But had he had not taken a political stance, it might have lessened the concerns about the movie.
Well, and gosh, this might be controversial, but I think there's room for every ideology in film, but there's a certain amount of expectations as a Superman fan or a Batman fan or Iron Man fan that you're going to have a certain type of movie, and whether DEI is included in that or not, it's how they handle it,
right?
And it's like, then there's movies that are just that are made strictly because of a certain political stance, or a certain ideology, which is fine too, because it will find its audience.
And it'll and I don't know. I have kind of a strange view when it comes to certain movies. Like I want to be surprised. I want to see a plot twist that has me sitting on the edge of my seat. I want to see character development and all that type of stuff, but I also kind of want to know what I'm getting into when I'm watching a movie. If they're selling it as a movie that is, and I'm kind of quoting the other movie reviewers and stuff, a girl boss movie, nothing stops me from watching those. I don't have an issue with a woman being the protagonist and being the hero and saving the day. I mean, I watch those just as much as I watch any other movies.
Except Wonder Woman 84.
I know I even watched that. I knew what to expect on it. I didn't think it was going to be as bad as it was, but I know a lot of people love that movie. And what was the one with Ridley? The
Aliens?
No, the girl from Star Wars, Ridley Scott. Not Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott is Daisy Ridley.
Okay.
She's the new Jedi
Right.
Protagonist, and she did a movie called Cleaner, which is basically a Die Hard. I don't know if you ever saw that.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it. I thought it was entertaining. I thought it was kind of fun, and to see her, loud mouth, cursing every couple seconds, and she's tough girl, military trained, and she's got this hostage takeover type, basically, and a Die Hard.
Yeah, female Die Hard.
And I knew what I was watching. I knew what I was watching. Now, if they said, they put Bruce Willis on the cover, and then Daisy Ridley is down here, and all of a sudden, 5 minutes into the movie, Bruce Willis disappears, and then Daisy Ridley takes over, then it's kind of like a bait and switch.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of people have issues with, is the bait and switch of watching a movie. Sell it for what it is.
And then have all these other undertones in it.
Yeah. And I think that kind of helps for me. And I don't have, but there's people out there that think that, like, for example, here's another prime example, the last Indiana Jones movie. I still saw Harrison Ford as the lead. I didn't have a problem with the lady from Fleabag. I can't ever remember her name either. I didn't have a problem with her basically being equals with him throughout the show, and sometimes she becomes better. I mean, he's aged and all this other stuff, and you have to have that mindset when you go into the movies that Harrison Ford was, what, 80 something?
Yeah. And it's his swan song, so
Yes.
you know what to expect. You know that they are going to try to bring someone else along.
Some else along,
Yeah.
and or pass the torch or something like that. So I kind of expected that, but I also, did my research on the movie beforehand.
Although I wish it would have been Mutt.
Yes.
But he went through a lot of turmoil himself there. I think that kind of got him pushed out of any future
Yes.
movies.
When they killed him off too.
Well, they killed him off in the last one.
Yeah.
But they didn't kill him off in the one before.
No, not before that.
He could have easily come back, but I don't think his was politics. His was personality.
The whole I'm no longer famous, and it's just his antics and everything just kind of ruined his career. But he's a great actor too. I think that Shia LaBeouf is completely underrated.
What was that? What was the one he was in where he had the autistic or Down syndrome friend that they went on a boat?
Oh, peanut butter. It had some type of
about peanut butter. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that was a good movie.
That was a good. That's good. And he's a good actor.
He's a good actor. I saw one that I think that was a sleepy. It was one of those movies that just got released quietly, and you blink and you miss it. Was The Necessary Deaths of Charlie Countryman?
I have not seen that.
If you've not seen that, if you've not heard of it, it's The Necessary Death of Charlie Countryman, and it's Shia LaBeouf, or LaBeouf. I'm never going to pronounce his name properly.
We'll go with LaBeouf.
LaBeouf.
Why not?
And
he's not going to care.
it's got the guy who plays Lashif, Mads Mikkelsen.
Oh, yeah.
He's in there. He is great, and he ends up taking this trip. And I won't give anything. I won't. No spoilers here. But something happens. He ends up getting this advice to go somewhere, and he goes somewhere. He meets someone. He falls in love, and if you think it's just a love story, it's not. I mean, it's kind of gritty. It's got some grittiness to it. It's got one of the guys from the Harry Potter series in there. The guy who plays who's his best friend? Harry Potter.
The redheaded kid?
Yes. Yeah. Rupert something. Rupert Gant. He's in it. And they're staying in this hostel, and they're in Bucharest. So that's all I'm going to say. But he does a really good job of acting. The person that he's playing against, the chemistry, I think personally is there. Like the chemistry is there. Mads Mikkelsen, that guy's always great in anything he's done. But well worth the watch.
Let me switch it up a little bit here and let me see, because we haven't talked about this before. What is your take on Wes Anderson movies?
Which Wes Anderson? Paul Wes Anderson?
No, the Wes Anderson movies, like the Moonlight Kingdom,
Budapest Hotel, Grand Budapest.
Yeah,
I love his symmetry. I love the way he shoots his movies.
Storyline, though.
Storyline,
the Grand Budapest Hotel was good.
Yeah.
But there's been a few, like the one, and I can't remember the one. It was the one about the desert town where they were worried about the nuclear thing, and there was aliens involved in it, and
that was the last one, right?
Yeah, except for the one that's coming out now. But yeah, it was like the way they were telling the story. It was like I was just like totally
lost.
confused.
Yeah, I think he's hit or miss. I keep thinking it's Wes Anderson, not Paul Wes Anderson, or Paul Anderson.
And then the Life Aquatic.
With Steve yeah, I thought that was pretty good. He's hit or miss with me. I think if he's on, if he tries to narrow down the characters and the storylines and all that type of stuff, I think he's great if he can keep all that in sync. The one you're talking about with I think
I'm trying to think what the name of it was. I can't.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can't think of it. It had Scarlett Johansson in it, and it had a couple of people.
It had
Tom Hanks. I did not like that one.
Yeah, I didn't either. But but the funny thing is that Wes Anderson says, I'm going to make a movie, and it's like every A-list actor lines up to go, I want to be in it.
Yes.
And it's like, and even though they're very quirky sometimes.
The Royal Tenenbaums.
Now
that was good.
Yeah, that was great.
And even the animated one, the Fantastic Mr. Fox.
I haven't seen that.
That's the one that I think it was George Clooney did the voice work on there. There's a couple other people in it too, but it was shot in that same style. Everything is completely centered when you're watching his movie.
I love his cinematography. Even the one we were talking about that we can't remember the name of it. I love the cinematography of it. You know?
Did you see the shorts that he did on with Benedict Cumberbatch and a couple of there's like 5, I think. They're like shorts that came out, and they're totally shot in his style. The few of them are very good. A few of them are not too, like one of them. The whole video is Benedict Cumberbatch is in a bed and they think there's a snake underneath the covers, and there's just dialogue with other people like how they're going to get this snake out of there. It's pretty interesting. I recommend it. One of them is he's a gambler. Ben Kingsley. Yeah, but I mean, like you said, everybody wants to line up to do his movies.
Everybody wants to do his movies.
And I think because all his movies are successful, even if they're not that great.
Yeah. Well, I think they probably do them for scale. A lot of the actors probably do them for scale. They're not getting big paychecks for those.
No. It keeps them busy and it keeps them, keeps them relevant. He's I think he's still a great director. I think and he writes most of his stories. So that's another thing too. To be able to write a story, direct it, and I mean, the guy can put out like 2 movies a year if he really wanted to,
Well, you think about it. I mean, what I think at the height, Elvis had 3 or 4 movies in 1 year that were put out. Of course, they were, they were what they were. But you can definitely put out more than that. Of course, nowadays you could never do a Mission Impossible in 1 year. No. The way they do stuff like that.
Well, I think most of that is prep work for the stunts, and then the actual film time is probably like 3 weeks. It's like 2 years of stunt prep.
2 years of him jumping out of a helicopter with a burning parachute.
Yeah. How many takes of that before? That guy's crazy.
I mean, forgive me for saying this, but he's going to die doing a movie. The odds are against him that he can continue to do this without suffering
something.
The ultimate.
Yeah. I was watching the behind the scenes of that airplane stunt, and he had just cables holding them. I don't think he even had a parachute. So like if a cable would have snapped.
Well, he said he didn't because he talked about how he said you couldn't do it with that because number one, if the parachute accidentally deployed, then that would be a whole nother problem whatsoever.
Ripped apart.
And then the one where the director was talking about how the one scene where the strut's moving, it's Tom Cruise flying the plane, working the camera, and doing the stunt.
Yes.
He was the only one in the plane. Yeah. So it's like,
and I kind of wonder if those stunts are really bringing people in anymore like it used to. I think after Mission Impossible, after 4.
Well, after he hung off the airplane.
Yeah.
Where he's hanging on to the...
5. I think that was 5. And Ghost Protocol. No, not Ghost Protocol. Rogue Nation, I think it was.
That's right. But, I mean, I went and saw part 2 because I wanted to see the stunts.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I want to see the stunts, but I needed to have a conclusion to that story. I think that was the biggest thing. I don't think that... I didn't really have a lot of expectations for Dead Reckoning, Final Reckoning.
For the story?
For the story. Honestly, I didn't.
It was too much about the stunts, in your opinion?
I think after watching it, yes, I think it was too much about the stunts. I think it was, Ethan Hunt has always been grandiose and bigger than life as a character, but I think with Dead Reckoning, it was just because every success was reluctant. Like it wasn't like a skill that saved his life. I won't ruin it for anybody, but like half of the times where something has happened, it was just pure timing or just luck or just something, some MacGuffin popped in at a particular time at the scene that saves everybody's lives. It wasn't like he thought about it ahead of the time and,
So, I know what you're saying because a lot of times when we watch the Mission Impossible movies, he's got the plan.
Right.
and he knows how the plan's going to work out.
Right.
And this, it was like, it seemed like he had the plan, but he didn't know if it was going to work out.
Right. He didn't know. He didn't know if it was
was the
going to work
difference
out.
in this
That was a
movie.
huge difference.
Yeah.
I mean, even where Ghost Protocol, which I think you and I agree is one of the best ones out there, things went wrong, and he improvised a solution, which is different than things going wrong, and because some worm tunneled through a hole that's been digging for the last 20 years, dropped a pebble, and that pebble hit the disarm button. You know, that was kind of what we saw in Rube Goldberg machines.
Yeah.
In the last one, and I think that took away from the movie for me. Is I like the adapt, improvise, and overcome of the previous movies.
Did you just quote Clint Eastwood?
I did. Was that? Well, I don't know. I'm pretty sure he
Something
quoted.
Hill. What was that? No,
Not Hamburger Hill.
no, it wasn't Hamburger Hill. It was
That's the one where he was the trainer. He was Gunny Sargent.
Gunny Sargent.
Yeah, that was. Oh my God, what was that? It was a great movie.
That was a great movie.
Adapt, improvise, and overcome.
Yep. That was a good movie. I wouldn't mind seeing that again. I'm trying to think of what the name of it was. It was the one where they went into Grenada.
Yes.
Yeah. Somebody's out there going, it's this, it's this, it's this. Yeah, we know. We're not.
Yeah, Mario Van Peebles was in that.
God, that was when they were doing the training. That was so funny. That just the way, and Clint Eastwood would come there and he'd have a different shirt on.
Yes.
And if he had the same shirt on, then they wouldn't. And then they finally found out how he was
picking his shirts.
Yeah.
I love those movies where the old guys are like, completely underestimated. Like the Presidio.
Well, that's another one, yeah.
Presidio. When Sean Connery was taking that guy, I'm gonna beat you with my thumb. It just works, that old guy with his thumb.
And then there's the one, and I'm trying to think of who it was. It was Michael Caine, and it was Tom Cruise's guy from Days of Thunder. I can't. Why
Michael
can't I
Rooker?
No. The old guy. He's been in everything.
The Secondhand Lions.
Yeah, Secondhand Lions.
Secondhand Lions.
That was the one where they're in the bar, and all of a sudden, they go, and he ends up beating the crap out of all these young kids.
Oh yeah.
I've killed more men than.
He's killed more men than the plague, or something like that.
Yeah.
Robert Duvall.
Yeah.
Robert Duvall. Yeah, he's another one of those guys. It just they get up there in age and they still tough.
So, it's summertime. There's a lot of movies come out. What are you looking forward to? What are you looking forward to watching?
So one, it's 28 years later. We're probably gonna, maybe we can catch that.
We should probably go
back
right after this.
All right. Yeah, there we go.
I hear it's fantastic already. I'm already hearing about it.
And I guess there's a trilogy. There's two more that's supposed to follow this. Is what I heard.
What? I thought this was the trilogy.
Well, trilogy to the 28 years.
Wars.
So, so I think it's going to be. So they did the 28 days later, right? Which was 28 days after the outbreak,
right.
And then they did 28 weeks later, which was 28 weeks from the time that movie ends. And this is supposed to be 28 years after that. But I think out of the 28 years from, this sounds confusing now that I'm thinking of it.
Yeah.
28 years from the 28 week point. I think there's supposed to be 3 movies set around that same time zone with the same people. So they're not going to go 20 something days. This will be 28 days later, part 2, 28 years later, part 2, 28 years later, part 3.
28 years later plus 28 days.
Plus a couple days, yeah. It'll be 28 years, 2 weeks, 5 days, 6 hours. Yeah. I'd be interested in seeing it because I think there's a cliffhanger from what I understand.
Well, and like I said earlier when we started, I really like 28 Days Later, and I did not like The Walking Dead. I started to watch it. I couldn't, I don't know. Maybe I didn't give it enough time. But
Walking Dead to me was all about the characters. The zombies are going to be zombies, right? Mm-hmm. And which is kind of funny when you look at 28 Days Zombies versus, I don't think they're zombies. I don't think they're, as it's a zombie flick, but I don't think they're considered zombies. Even though World War Z were zombies, that was my take on it. When I saw 28 Days Later, I didn't really think of them as zombies. No, they were rage monsters.
Yeah, because they were affected by this virus.
This rage virus. Yeah. And do they die before they become? I think zombies. And you guys can comment on this if I'm wrong. I think zombies are considered rotting corpses of slow moving.
Yeah.
That's a zombie is,
Yeah.
um,
you get bitten, you die, and then you become a zombie.
then you become a zombie. These guys, they got bit.
That's why it's The Walking Dead.
That's why it's The Walking Dead. Yeah, those guys, you can outrun them, outpace them. But
Yeah.
the Rage guys in 28 Days or World War Z, those are completely different. I mean, I'm pretty sure they die at some point and probably, still animated. But
Now that brings up a comedy point. Maybe I've already seen this, and maybe I'm coming up with a new idea. But it'd be fun to do a zombie skit where some guy's just like stepping to the side, and the zombie doesn't move fast enough to get him, or he runs a little bit faster, and he's like taunting him the whole time, come get me, because it's in the masses that they get you.
yes,
The one zombie, you don't have to worry about that.
yeah, one zombie is piece of cake. Even one or two, as long as you got the appropriate,
Right.
tools to kind of,
And you're not tired.
and you're not tired.
Yeah,
yes.
you don't want to be lacking the ability to run.
But I hear that in 28 years later, these rage zombies, they evolve. So another reason why the 28 years is important, because at some point in time they don't. A dead flesh will rot, and
Right.
no matter if you just got out, you got to survive until the muscle tissues deteriorated enough. Then they should just literally
Right.
fall to the ground, right?
Yeah,
So
because like anything, there's a shelf life to it.
there's a shelf life.
Yeah, you're gonna.
But these guys, since they're rage monsters, and I don't know if they consume flesh when they kill people or what I don't know exactly how they
I think
survive.
they just kill them.
It looks like they just normally kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you look at the old movie,
if you don't die, they infect you with the virus, and then you just get infected.
then you get infected. But how are you getting your substance, right? Like how are they getting hydration and food?
It's sort of like the old Star Trek movies. They never showed the bathroom.
They never show the bathroom.
So it's like, how do they
There's
do
no
that?
money. There's no. Yeah, you're not supposed to think about that. You're supposed to just enjoy the escapism of
But that's like, there was one other zombie movie, but it wasn't really a zombie movie. It was more like a rage monster effect. Was the Will Smith one?
I Am Legend.
I Am Legend.
I Am Legend. They were vampires.
Were they?
Yeah, they were vampires. That's
Okay,
why they
'cause
couldn't come out.
come out in the
They couldn't
light.
come out in the light.
That's
Now they
right.
never show them drink blood, but technically they were vampires, and I think that's
Yeah, but they were. But okay, so I always think of a vampire as a humanoid that acts human when he's when he's at night, when he's not hunting, and then when he's hunting, he becomes the vampire. Like your traditional
traditional.
Dracula
Yeah,
movies.
Bram Stoker.
These guys were the way their bodies were and everything was different than a normal humanoid.
Right.
They were like kind of all messed up.
And I think what was the guy's name? Robert Neville. Robert Neville, when he was Will Smith's character, when he was doing all the testing on them, remember he can convert them back to being humans. So they weren't dead. They weren't zombies.
Right.
It was a virus that basically took over their bodies and mutated them. So he can turn them back. I don't think there was any blood, but if you watch the part where he gives them their serum number, like 340, whatever number serum that was, they had fangs, and the fangs started to retract, and then her skin started to come back to normal. The test subject with the butterfly tattoo. But if you remember the original with I can't think of his name right now. It's Charlton Heston. The original one, they were vampires, and I think they even referred to them as vampires in the original one, which is Omega Man. And then there's a company called Asylum. I don't know if you ever heard of the Asylum films.
No.
Asylum they're one of those B-rated movies that will get wind of a big blockbuster coming out, and then they'll make a movie just like it, and they'll try to squeeze it in. So maybe through
the fervor of the regular movie coming out, they'll get the
people will walk in and see this and go, wait a minute, this isn't the movie I was watching, but the money's already gone. They did one called I Am Omega, which was Mark Dacascos actually played in that. He played the Robert Neville character. And
so I Am Legend and Omega Man. I Am Omega.
I Am Omega.
Oh, yeah.
And that was they definitely called them vampires in that, but they were out in the day, which was kind of funny because I think that's the only time they can shoot the movie.
Didn't have enough budget to do it.
Yeah, no nighttime budgets. They didn't have the right cameras.
So anyway, you said 28 years later you want to see that. What else?
28 years later, I'm looking forward to Superman.
Yeah, me too.
I think I want to see Mr. Fantastic on the screen. He was one of those characters that evolved so much from the time that he was originally created to where he is now. So I'll be interested to see how they put him on the big screen. And Guy Gardner is one of the few DC characters that I've kind of started doing research on more recently than before, because I was not a huge fan of the Green Lantern, but to realize the Green Lantern Corps, there was a lot more other Green Lanterns than just our main character. When I found out about Guy Gardner, it makes him very interesting to watch. I want to see him.
Did you see the trailer for the female Iron Man?
Yes, Ironheart.
Ironheart.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not so sure.
I hate to say it, I'm not too sure on that one either. There was not a very popular comic to begin with. I think it got canceled like within 1 year.
Yeah, but if they can come up with a good story.
They can come up with a good story.
It doesn't have to follow the comic book line.
No, and it hasn't so far. I mean, none of the small time she had in Black Panther, the second one, Wakanda Forever. She had a small run in that, and I think this is obviously post that movie, when she's still, I think, in MIT or whatever, but she had a really good relationship in the comic book with Tony Stark. So he died before she came onto the scene. So the continuity from the comic book is completely,
but there's alternate universes now, so that doesn't necessarily mean Tony Stark is dead.
That's true. That's true.
You watch.
They could bring another Tony Stark in.
Yeah.
But she's unfortunately she's in the universe where he died.
Yeah.
So she's kind of screwed with that. But I know I'm gonna watch it. I'm still gonna watch it just because again, the continuity, whatever she does in this comic book, whatever she does in this show is gonna kind of overflow whatever Marvel's doing for the rest of the movies. So this is gonna be a piece of the puzzle.
I want to see F1.
F1 looks
kind of
good.
interested in seeing that. Nobody 2.
Oh God, I can't wait for Nobody 2.
Yeah. I want to see Bob Odenkirk. I liked him in Nobody because he's you don't think of him as the action star. No. So when he does it, he makes the perfect dad. Mm-hmm. That all of a sudden says, "Well, I'm thrust in a position where, I got to bring back my old skills." And I like the premise of that movie.
If you guys have not seen Nobody, we recommend you watch it. It's from the same people who put together John Wick, mm-hmm. basically. So you always have, I don't know what those guys have against Russians, but the Russians are always the bad guys.
Always the bad guys.
They're always the bad guys. But it's the old guys kicking ass movies. And now
there's for a real change, the Breaking Bad star is in a movie coming out called Everything's Gonna Be Great. And it's about a family. It's about a mother, father, and 2 boys that live in like Iowa or something like that. And the dad says, "We're going to buy a theater in New Jersey." Mm. And so it's about them going. And I think Allison Janney is the mom in it.
Oh wow,
maybe.
She's a good actress.
Yeah. So anyway, they're going to New Jersey, and the reason I bring it up is because my third cousin is one of the children in the movie.
Oh wow!
It's his his
debut,
probably 3rd or 4th movie that he's been in. He was also one of the kids in the movie where Liam Neeson was in the car with the bomb strapped underneath it. He was the older boy in that one there too. So it's funny because he's from New Jersey, and there's a line in the trailer where he watches it, and the dad goes, "We're going to buy a theater in New Jersey," and he goes, "I don't want to live in New Jersey." And it's funny if you know the kid, then you know why that's. It's almost like they chose that line for.
Is it like a comedy or is it one of those?
It's a comedy. It's like a comedy drama. It's the family's going through some trouble, and they're trying to make this theater work. Mm-hmm. And the dad wants to be an actor, the son wants to be an actor, the mom, not so much. The other boy, doesn't want to do it at all. So it's about them trying to figure out, how that works.
I have to look into that. Now, for me, being the moviegoer that I am, like, I think I seek out sci-fi action.
I was going to ask you that. Yeah, if you tend to gravitate toward those kind of.
Those are movies that I normally would gravitate, because those are the ones, if you're watching a trailer, usually trailers for me are background noise. So if I'm watching it, if not, something's not exploding or lasers aren't flying across, sometimes it doesn't catch my attention. So so
you need too much stimulation. Huh?
I do way too much. But occasionally I'll fall into a movie or even a TV show that I normally would not watch, and I start watching. Like, oh my God, this is really good.
Well, I recommend The Diplomat for TV. Black Cake.
Black Cake.
I saw a reel, and this would get you. I was on Facebook, and it was a lawyer talking to this young lady, and he's on the phone with her, and he goes, "Yeah, is this so and so? Yeah, well, I want to talk about your mom. She died." And she goes, "Well, I think you got the wrong person." And he goes, "No, is this so and so? And your mom and dad are so and so?" Says, "Yeah." Well, it says, when you were adopted, they, this is who your mom was. And she goes, "I'm not adopted." So the guy goes, "Oh, it's like, oh, maybe there's something you don't know yet." So anyway, that's part of the show. It's like, well, what is this? And it never gives you the name of the movie on the reel.
No,
it never does. In fact, the very first person on there there was only one comment at the time when they showed it. He goes, "What's the name of the show?" So I looked it up and found it, and then I was like, okay, I'll watch one episode, and I was hooked immediately.
And to me, those type of shows, especially if they don't have a lot of big names to it, sometimes are even better.
I didn't. I'm trying to think. Do I recognize any of the people? I don't recognize any of the actors. I'm sure they've done things before, but I personally didn't recognize any of them.
Which one did I just watched that was like that? Sirens. I thought that was actually pretty interesting. I thought the end fell just a little bit flat.
I've been wanting to see that, but now I don't, because you said it fell flat.
Well, for me, it fell flat. But I mean, again, there was no lasers.
Right, no lasers.
It was a heartfelt movie, and all of a sudden, an alien ship come down. I'd be like, yes. No, there were some parts of the show that I did not understand, and I kept looking for some type of supernatural element to it at some point. And I guess it's there, and maybe I didn't see it, but it was enough to pull me in and enjoy it. It was actually pretty good.
I just rewatched a movie last night. I watched J.J. Abrams' Star Trek.
The first one?
Yeah.
Yes.
That was, I forgot how much I liked that movie. It's just,
I'm surprised the other one's bombed.
Yeah.
I am really surprised
the other one.
Yes,
supposedly.
They've been wanting to do that for a long time. I'm actually, I would still be interested in seeing Quentin Tarantino's Star Trek. Apparently, he's got a contract where he can make a Star Trek movie.
That would be interesting.
A rated R Star Trek movie. He's been trying to get that done for years. I don't know what ever happened to it, but look it up. You guys will see the stories out there. But he has partnered with Paramount, and I think they've given them a green light to do a parallel Star Trek,
right? Without Captain Kirk.
Without Captain Kirk, yeah, totally different characters, totally different, same universe, I guess. Well, it would have
to be the same universe, or it wouldn't be Star Trek, right?
Well, no, because now you have and I'm going to get super geeky here, so I can hear people's brain caps tightening. You have 2 Star Treks now. You have the Captain Kirk Star Trek that we've grown up watching.
Picard.
Yeah, Picard. Now
then you have a ton of other ones.
But the ones with J.J. Abrams, they call that the Kelvin timeline. So that is not technically the same William Shatner Star Trek that we see. It's if you that's why Spock, when he was able to talk, which I don't understand how this works either, because he was supposed to be from a different timeline, but he knew about Khan in the Star Trek Into Darkness. He was supposed to be a different Spock than the Spock that we grew up watching, because the Star Trek original broke off when the J.J. Abrams movie. So it created a spin-off universe. So it's not supposed to be the exact same Star Trek that we grew up watching. It's supposed to be
Well, and they even show you that from the beginning, where it goes into this Romulan ship comes out of the
future, right?
Yeah, and was looking for Spock,
right?
Basically.
Yeah, so they call it the Kelvin timeline, and the Kelvin timeline is different than the and I think now what I don't know as far as timeline goes is how, like, Star Trek Discovery, if that's supposed to be part of which timeline. Is it the Kelvin or but yeah, no, I can't. Yeah, Star Trek is great. I can't wait to see how they're going to do this. My poor Anton Yelchin, I loved him as Chekhov, but
oh yeah, that was such. When I heard about that, I mean, crushed by your own Jeep. I mean, it's like,
yeah,
that was just horrible.
I thought it was one of those joke things, because on Facebook, and it'll say, "Oh, this actor died today," and then you'll see like Bruce Willis, and then it's like,
yeah, then it's not anything about Bruce Willis.
Yeah, it's nothing about Bruce Willis. It's clickbait.
Yep.
But I thought it was clickbait, and I was like, my heart was broken. He's another one of those guys that's a really good actor. He did a movie called The Green Room. You ever heard of that one?
Mm-mm. Heard of the restaurant called The Green Room.
You gotta look. It's he's with a struggling band, him and his friends, and they stop at this. Patrick Stewart's in there too, which I think is kind of funny, because Patrick Stewart plays the bad guy. But they stop at this place called The Green Room, and they do a set, and they witness something that happens, and it becomes an escape bottle film type movie. Cool. It's really good. It is really good. This is one of those sleeper hits.
Well, Larry, and we could go on forever. I don't think I could ever stop talking about movies and that, but I think we want to give our audience a little break on this one, and
just for a while.
Just for a little while. We'll do another one soon. We promise. It's one of those things that we both have full-time jobs. Yep. So we have things to do. But as this goes on, and we will bring some people on there. I know we have a local lady whose father was big in the community here that just passed away. And we'll be bringing her on because we want her to be able to talk about her dad. So that'll be cool.
He's a great guy. Very good guy. Yeah.
Hey, click the subscribe button and join us on this journey with us, and we'll have some fun.
And definitely comment. Let us know what you're interested in hearing about. If you got a short story to share, let us know.
Yeah.
We do check the comments. We will get back to you. But remember, we do have full-time jobs.
Yeah.
But
and if it is a story, be careful. Make sure you copyright it, because we might end up making a movie out of it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.